multidisciplinary design review tool. This can be used during all manner of different phases of the design process. It can be used throughout operations. It can be used as a record of how the plant was at a particular time. It can be distributed through the organization. It can be shared. They're very lightweight packages by comparison with the design tools. And of course, we can also share things on mobile devices. This is increasingly, an increasing opportunity in our industry. And why not use that? And I'll come on to another nice example in a moment. So here's one example of how we might use an iModel to better support maintenance. Again, another hydro power plant example. I like these examples because they're very visual, very graphical. Here we have an iModel. It contains the terrain model, it contains the dam, it contains the substation, it contains all the plants and so on. And what we've done here then is to combine in the iModel all the drawings and the documentation and the specs and the test reports and so on. But rather than having a big vault of drawings over here somewhere where they have to go and find the drawings, instead the drawings and the details are all in context, in the right place, in the model. And we've developed these nice navigation techniques and technologies that enable you to fly through and seamlessly snap and cut and slice and focus in and zoom on particular pieces of equipment and then see the details, see the particular ways in which that was done. There's creating hyperlinks there to things like test reports, manuals, could be inspection reports, all manner of different things. There's no limit to the kinds of information that you can then make in this hypermodel context. So I think that's certainly a paradigm shift over how many companies are operating today to do that kind of thing. Let's move forward again. Let's think a little bit about other processes. Well, how can we better support operations? I mentioned how asset-wise supports specific workflows in the industry. One of those workflows is called corrective action. If a maintenance technician is walking down the plant and they see a bolt lying on the floor, or oil leaking from a gasket, or smoke billowing from a pump, what's the process they're going to go through to ensure that that's going to get resolved? Well, with this system, you can capture that issue on a mobile device. We can identify the equipment item. We can put some comments on it. We can raise a corrective action report on that. That uploads that information at the first opportunity of disconnection to the asset information management system. That kicks off a workflow that goes through and says, okay, somebody needs to take ownership of this. Somebody needs to resolve this issue. They then go through the process of considering, well, okay, let's find out more about this piece of equipment. When was it last maintained? Who maintained it? Where's the test reports? Everything's in context, in the right place. They're then able to do things like go into the model, go into the 3D model, identify where the equipment is, consider other aspects there might be in terms of how you're going to go to resolve that problem. If it's a pump, how many other instances of the same pump are there? How many times the same maintenance technician do something and there's a problem? You can start doing all sorts of trending that are going to improve your performance, purely because you've got the same information as you might have had before, but now you've got it in context. It's all relevant, it's all in the right place. It becomes an immersive operating platform. And of course, you can configure these workflows, or you can configure them yourselves as well to specific requirements you have. In certain industries, they have very defined ways they have to do things. In the nuclear industry, if you're walking down a plant and you find a bolt lying on the floor, not only do you have to go through the right corrective action process and ensure it is resolved, the regulator has to see that you went through the right process of making sure they're resolved. And you have to communicate that to all the other owners who also might have the same equipment as you to ensure that they can't possibly have that same issue as well. So we support that in our platform. That's the kind of thing that we do. Okay, so it's not all about, it's not all about greenfield sites. It's not all about brand new assets. We also have many tools, pragmatic tools for dealing with the kinds of legacy systems, dealing with the kinds of legacy assets that you have. Again, just to keep this nice and kind of lightweight, visual and graphical, I'm showing here a nice laser scan point cloud. Of course, laser scanning in itself is not anything particularly new. It's certainly coming down in price. It's becoming more and more achievable. If I don't play that animation again, one talking. But our point tools and our way that we can deal with point clouds is certainly unique. The things that we can do in terms of being able to trace pipes, recognize some intelligence in the point cloud, trace cables, and we can then use that point cloud as the starting point for perhaps a retrofit project. You might be installing a flue gas desulfurization or some selective catalytic reduction. Oh, my graphics look like that image is open. So it's really about how we can support that whole process better. And then we can also do things like, iron with these point clouds. How about a situation you might have legacy drawings, you might not have anything in electronic format. We can still build up an interesting and far more immersive integrated information system from that is a pragmatic solution moving forward. We can also do smart things like looking at any bolts of electronic drawings we do have and scraping tags and scraping all the value from those, building up an asset information management system, relating it back to the drawings, the documentation, and so on, such that you have, at least a very good step forward towards a much better system. And one example of a company that did exactly this, and the only non-Asian example we used today was Eskom Latabo in South Africa. This is a 6 gigawatt coal-fired power plant. And the issue they had was during the life cycle of the plant, they lost all aspects of the as-built drawings or as-maintained drawings. The information management platform had certainly got out of date there. So they went through a process of re-engineering the information management system, of going through and scanning and redoing intelligent PIDs and scanning the plant and building up a much more intelligent information management system. And that's entirely based on Bentley technology. I have a very nice case study here called this implementation of an integrated engineering management system at the power station, produced by them, that describes the whole process they went through using Bentley technologies, and very nice credibility there, an engineering management system built by engineers for engineers. So that's one very nice example of a more brownfield situation, which I think is going to support many of the owners today. So, that's really what I wanted to talk about today. I think I wanted to make sure I got across the fact that we're very much involved in power generation. We're very much involved in the Asian region. We very much want to support the kinds of projects you're working on. I think for owners and operators of power infrastructure, we recognize you want to maximize the value of your assets. You want to minimize the risks of things like unplanned shutdown or any safety issues. And we have a suite and a range of portfolio of tools that help support those business requirements. And we believe that the information asset is equally as important as the physical asset. And we provide tools to support that. For the engineering contractors among us, we recognize that you want to be as productive as possible in the projects that you do. You want to maximize the quality of the work. And you want to be flexible in the tools because you have all different manner of different jobs come along at different times. And we have very flexible licensing methods and very flexible tools that enable you to work in those ways. So again, and we think Bentley has a very important role to play in that. For any equipment providers that are here, we recognize that you might want to have your equipment and your catalogs and specs made available, because unless engineers know about it, unless it's there and made easy for them, then they don't necessarily want to be able to have to manually integrate that. So we work with equipment providers, making sure we've got all the latest information in our systems. For ready regulators that are among us, you want to manage design review effectively, and so on and so forth. So we're very much involved in the power industry, and we believe we have an important role to play in it. We think that these tools are getting more and more important. We'd be delighted to talk to you in more detail about your requirements. Please come and see us at booth 11, just through those doors. And also, I have to mention, or I'll get told off, we're having a prize draw. Please come, submit your business cards, and you can win a Samsung Galaxy Tab. Very good. Thank you very much.
Like I see in the crowd or everywhere, you are Bentley. These softwares are drawing generation, 3D animation, interference checking. Information is very useful. But from engineering level to bring it to the drawing level, from heat balance to the D&I, are there any direct tool available in Bentley?
I'm sorry, can you just say the last part again? Are there any what?
Tool or the software which integrate heat balance created by the another software directly convert into process piping and instrumentation diagram in diagram.
Okay, so I think, are you referring perhaps to tools like GT Pro, those kinds of tools?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So GT Pro is a great tool. You know, it provides a very simple heat balance and kind of knowledge-based engineering platform that will give you a very initial process flow diagram and your initial single-line diagrams and so on. And yes, of course, we can extract that very easily. In fact, we're talking to the makers of GT Pro, a company called Thermoflow, about making sure that they can then produce an eye model. And I'd be very interested to talk to you and make sure that we can express that, you know, Thermoflow needs to be able to output that data in a way, because what they produce, you can't build anything from that. It just gives you a very nice impression of what heat lamp might look like, and a very nice rough cost estimate. But once you get into the detail, you know, that's where things really start happening. So yeah, I'd be interested to talk to you and make sure that we can get that message to...
I have one more question. The laser scanning which you have mentioned.
Yeah.
What's the tolerance of the error band in the laser scanning while converting from laser scanned geometry to the actual drawing of the aspirating?
So I think you talked about something called error band there. That sounds
Yeah.
like something very technical for this presentation here today. So I tell you what, why don't we take that offline, and I'll connect you with the laser scanning guys, and I'm sure we can answer that question more directly. Thank you.
Mark, you mentioned in your presentation that the process of moving from handover to hands-on. I've been involved in a number of projects where I've been profoundly frustrated with the lack of vendor data. So imagine doing a HAZOP, and you've got this diagram, PNID, and on the bottom right-hand corner is the valve schedule, and it just says valve, 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 valve. Completely, I mean, it's impossible to do a HAZOP and that sort of thing. So are you selling your product to vendors? You mentioned engineering contractors, but what about the vendors? I have so much trouble getting information out of the vendor so I can commission my CMMS. And it's just like pulling teeth.
Absolutely. Well, there's a number.
Tell me I'm not Robinson Crusoe.
Well, there's a number of things that we can do to help support exactly that. I mean, for a start, some of the things that we've done for some of our clients include things like a data quality checking. So when you're gathering the data from the engineering contractors, you might have multiple engineering contractors, you define up front a data model, class ladder. You're saying, these are the data points that I need to know about all these different pieces of equipment to safely operate the plant. And I need the data in this format. And I expect the pressures in megapascals, and I expect this and the next. Now, we can then perform automated checks. As they feed the data to you, we can put it through a data quality check cycle that extracts individual data points. It might say that this volume is out of the expected range, this tag structure is incorrect, and so on and so forth. So data quality is no longer some abstract measurement. It's a specific measurable. It's that data point there, it's this data point there. Now, we also work very closely with some of the vendor data specialists. There are a number of vendor data companies, and how they produce their data in formats like ISO 15926 and standard data. We're very much involved in that whole industry. We're very much involved in that whole standards, movement. In fact, we're very dedicated to open standards in the industry to ensure exactly those kind of problems. You know, it's the data that you as an operator need different to the data that an engineering contractor needs. But that's exactly what the whole ISO 15926 lifecycle information model is there to resolve. So yeah, we're working on it.
Fantastic, thank you. We have time for one more question.
Yeah, I'm Damon Trojan with the AES group. operator, building new assets as well, and I spoke to you a little bit at your booth. One thing that's a big question for me, and Graham got into it a little bit, you know, a tremendous amount of work goes into taking the information we have and then creating a CMMS or just setting up all that data in the way you're talking about. So I see you got a lot of good products, but how do you tackle the service? I mean, AES, we've got a pretty small staff on the project. We don't have the time really to build all that. If we give you some databases in the pile of drawings and you'll put it all together, or do you work with?
Yeah, we can do that, absolutely. I mean, come and talk to us. No, but the services organization that we have is primarily around, you know, supporting the products that we do. So of course, for many companies there are specific configurations and specific requirements. And very much so data migration, you know, requirements, projects, that taking legacy data or taking data from other systems and how you can bring that, you know, into our systems and how you can integrate that with your other enterprise systems, because everything's slightly different, you know. So for example, people often ask us, do you have an SAP interface? And we say, oh yeah, we do, we interface with SAP. But typically there's no standard SAP configuration, so we need to do some level of services to make that work. Again, same with Maximo. There's no standard Maximo configuration. We actually do have a standard Maximo interface that often also needs to be tweaked and configured to make sure it's the right thing. That's exactly the kind of services that we provide. It's what our professional services organization does.
Thanks.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Mark. Would you join me in thanking Mark?